Laurell in studio, Joel Scott and the Star Breakfast crew. First of all, let's go back to your musical roots before we get to where you've come now. You grew up in a very musical family. Was it something that was ingrained by your parents, or did you come across the love of that just naturally?
Well, actually, we call my dad the whistling carpenter because he never stops whistling and singing, and he's actually a late bloomer and has joined a choir and is now becoming a soloist. Isn't that funny?
Really?
Yeah, but my parents come from Liverpool, England, and so I actually grew up dancing on coffee tables to the Beatles, and couldn't have asked for a better musical influence in my life.
I was going to say that's a pretty hip sounding household.
Definitely, yeah.
What now as you come forward with? When did you realize that music was something you thought you'd be able to do as a career? Like, there's when you want to do it, then there's when you realize, hey, you know what, maybe I got to crack at this.
Yeah. Well, there were, I guess, a few moments. One of them being my experience with Canadian Idol. I won Vancouver Idol the first year the show ran, and made the top 50 on the show. So I came to Toronto, and I actually got into that singing my own music. And so when it got to the point of the show where you couldn't sing original music anymore, I lost a little bit of heart at that point. And but what it did do was when I was cut, I came back to Vancouver, and I just really had this fire in my gut to really pursue a path in music. And so that's what I started to do. I had a chance to record, and so I recorded an album, did another one, went on tour. I was studying jazz at the time, so I did everything I could to kind of improve as a musician and to kind of help that path along. So that was a few years ago, and here I am with my new album.
What do you learn from an experience like Idol as a performer, as a writer, as a musician? What can you soak up in that environment?
I think that what was so great was to observe how everything just how it all happened. I felt, actually being a part of the show, that it was so strange that thousands of people across the country were participating and all competing for one record deal, when really, if we all sort of went out and pursued a record deal, I'm sure more than one person would win at the end of the day. Granted, we wouldn't have that massive exposure behind us to help propel a new album along. But I did learn that there are amazingly talented people in Canada, amazingly so, and you know, TV is not everything you see, so hopefully some of these people will kind of rise up and start making their own music too, because they're fantastic.
Laurell is our guest in studio, and we're going to hear from her very shortly with a live acoustic performance. Outside of music, where do your passions lie? What are things that really you do when you're not doing your music?
I have a massive love of board sports. So I surf, I snowboard, I wakeboard, I longboard, skateboard, and what else? That's basically my life. I mean, I live in the mountains in BC, so...
So you don't really have to be a workout nut because you're active as it goes.
Basically.
Now, when it comes to staying healthy as an artist and a performer, you got to stay in shape. Obviously. Do you have any sort of regimen you follow? Or do you just get to eat whatever you like whenever you want? Or do you cook your own meals? Or?
Well, I'm lucky in that I seem to have a hollow leg. But we try to stay healthy on the bus. We do try to cook in as much as we can. I mean, I was in downtown Toronto last week, and we had a night off, and we ended up just staying in and eating in the bus and watching a movie. So we're lame that way, but we do try to stay healthy and get a lot of sleep and eat fruit and vegetables, like my mom.
Well, look at you keeping all healthy. Now, as your career starts to move forward, and you get, I guess as things go forward, you sort of spiderweb and network with different people. You've worked with some pretty high-caliber writers already this early in your career. Is there anybody you want to collaborate with that you haven't worked with yet?
Ooh, who would I like to collaborate with? I really want to collaborate with Chantal Treviazek, because she works with Avril Lavigne and a whole bunch of other writers, and I think that she's very talented at what she does, so that would be my, just putting it out there. Or Sarah McLachlan. I don't even know. I'm sure she co-writes.
You know what we can do? We can bump somebody off Lilith Fair and get you on.
Oh, we're working on it.
Let's talk about the music, and a couple of different songs. You span different subject matters. Obviously, relationships are a theme in your music. Where do you draw inspiration from? From previous heartbreak, or from friends that have gone through this, or is it characters that you construct?
All three, actually. Luckily, I have a good imagination, and so I sometimes write from the place of putting myself in someone else's shoes and trying to picture what they're going through. I have a song that's about my best friend watching her dad struggle with mental illness and what it's like to stand there and watch someone you love go through something that you can't help at all. I have songs that are about relationships in my life that have ended, ones that are new. I'm getting married this year, so Can't Stop Falling is obviously really along those lines. And I also have a song about my parents growing up in Liverpool and my grandparents, actually, and just what life was like for them after World War I, before World War II, during the Depression. I had no idea what kind of hardship they faced back then in my own family. So it covers a lot of different topics.
And you know what? Maybe that's what makes the music so interesting, and maybe that's why you're starting to get some attention across the country. Will you do a song for us before you go?
Sure.
Okay, we'll take a short break, back with Laurel and an acoustic performance. We're going to hear the new single called Can't Stop Falling. Stay tuned.